I'm Sriram.
And I'm Julia.
Okay.
And we adopted our daughter 3 years ago from India.
Yes, October 13th, 2017 is when she came home.
Yes. Okay. So, one, share your experience, audience. Okay. Where are we from?
Can you share with your audience the background of your family and where you're from? I'm from India. I grew up in Chennai. I was born in Calcutta in 1972, but we moved to Chennai in 1975. And I lived there until 1989. That's when I went off to college to Coimbatore. And then I was in Coimbatore for 4 years, and then Bangalore for a couple of years, and then I came to the U.S. in 1995. And then I met her in 2000.
Right. So, obviously, he's from a traditional Indian background.
Yes, traditional South Indian family.
Yes. And I'm from, I would say, I guess, a typical liberal type background in Los Angeles, where I grew up. Yeah, so very American.
Right. Right. The cross-cultural interracial adoption and family system, does this pose any challenges? No, it hasn't been a problem for us because with me being Indian and with Julia being American, we kind of bridged a lot of our cultural differences over 20 years of marriage. I guess 17 years of marriage by the time Priya came home. So it wasn't hard, and Julia was pretty well acclimatized to the Indian way of living, or to understand what to expect from an Indian way of living. I mean, we don't have an Indian way of living now. We're somewhere in between Indian and American, right?
Right, but I think we try to keep all the traditions and certain cultural norms. We don't keep the religious side, but we do all the holidays and all the traditions that we feel are important.
Right. So it's not been a problem at all.
Yeah.
What encouraged you to consider adoption? I've always been interested in adopting, but the interest kind of went dormant after two of my kids, and then Julie kind of brought it up back in 2015. He said that'll be a good time for us to adopt, and we were also doing well financially. We were pretty stable, so we thought that this was probably the right time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about it. Since we met, we had talked about it, and then we kept pushing it off for various reasons. You know, would family be okay with it? Are we ready for that? And it just kept coming back, and we wanted to do it, but we kept coming up with excuses, you know, just because it was a risk.
Yeah.
At the time, that's what we thought.
Yeah.
And eventually, our kids started talking about it too. And so then we decided, okay, this is really time to do it, and we're happy we did it. And kind of sad that we waited so long. But
well, I'm not sad. It just, I mean, whatever time it happens, it's the right time, right? So it's like there's no good time or bad time.
Right.
It's the time when you're ready, and we were just ready, and it
worked out beautifully.
And it all worked out great. How did you broach the topic of adoption with your family? It took a while for my family to accept it, but eventually they did, and now everything's great.
Yeah, so. I'd say my family, you know, it's more common here and more accepted here. Even though my mother's a teacher, and she's seen a lot of cases where it wasn't a pleasant experience for people, so she was a little pessimistic about it, but she was supportive. And I feel like his family came a long way because it wasn't something that they were used to.
It's not as common,
and we're afraid of, you know. So, but
then
now
I beat
once
them.
it's good. But I have to say I'm really proud of them because they came around 100%, and they really love her, and she's kind of like the favorite now that they always ask about. So it was a journey to get there, but we got there, and now it's amazing.
Yeah.
So.
How did you broach the topic of adoption with your family? There was nothing. Oh, we just did. How did your family and parents respond? So we talked about that.
Yeah.
Did you receive interest?
Were cool with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
our friends are pretty supportive, and they're pretty helpful.
They were
receive
excited.
intrusive questions about your child. Like, I am, and I mean, with my being Indian and my daughter also being from there, it really did not raise any problems or questions or concerns.
For us, it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, sometimes you get looks if it's just me and her or something like that. But, you know, other than that, we don't really get that because, like I said, we're half Indian anyway.
Right.
So.
and we live in a pretty cosmopolitan city, so people are very understanding.
Yeah, where adoption is common.
Yeah. And so it's not a problem.
Okay.
Do you think...
Hold on, we have to make a second video. They went in 2 videos.
Okay. Do you think a child by adoption faces more hurdles in life than a child from a biological route? I don't know. Um, well, I guess we'll find out. My strong believer in helping your kids and kind of um, arming them with the right kinds of tools and capabilities to handle the difficult challenges in life. And I think it's going to turn out okay.
Yeah, I mean, they do. In general, they do. Because there's so many questions and so many things that come up in conversations when they're with friends or anything like that. But like Sriram said, you do the research and you talk to adoptees and you talk to other parents and find out how to handle those things. I stay involved in the adoptee community and the adoption community, and so I've seen a lot that really helps me figure out situations and how to handle them before they occur. I'll never have all the answers, nothing like that, but I feel like we're well prepared and we have a good community and resource for it. But I definitely think there's things that adopted kids will go through that biological kids just won't. There's certain things that are going to come up and certain trauma and everything that could occur. So yeah, it'll happen, but you do your best to find out what to do about it and help them.
That's right. How do you plan to talk about adoption with your child? I don't plan to talk about it. I'm just going to follow her lead. I'm just going to do what she tells me to do.
No, we've talked about it from the beginning. She's only 4, but she knows she's adopted on some level. We keep the conversation light. We don't talk about it all the time. But we do have it in her vocabulary. I'll say something like, "I'm so glad I get to be your second mommy." And she's asked a few times, a few things, and I've answered them as honestly as I can without adding anything to it. So she gets to some degree, and we visited the orphanage once already. So she kind of understands where she's from and everything. And so we just want to normalize it and make it easy for her to talk to us about it. And so far it's been fine. She's only 4. So it'll get more difficult and more intense in the future. But yeah, we just make it, it's a normal thing. So we talk about it when it occurs.
I don't know the answers for 3 through 7, so I'm just going to let you talk to me.
What do you think of root search has to play out?
No, what are your opinions
what are
on open and closed adoption systems as seen in India and the USA?
Right.
I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, I do, so that's good. So, right, with open and closed adoptions, the US and India are very different in this, and the cultures are very different for these kind of things. I feel like I've gone on a journey about that. I felt like in the beginning, I was like, I want her to know her birth mother and be able to talk to her all the time. And then I realized that how tough that could be. And I've talked to other adoptees and everything. While I want to keep a link and be able to have that available for her.
Oh, I understand.
Have that available for her. It might not be what her birth mother wants. And I feel like if they do make a connection and then the birth mother somehow needs to move on in a sense in her life and get married and then doesn't want to have a connection anymore, that would be extremely traumatic for her to feel abandoned again by her birth mother. So it's something you have to tread lightly, and I feel like it's a case-by-case basis that it might not work for everybody, but I do think a root search is extremely important, to know where she's from and have that link in case she wants to come back later at some point and just know where she's from, because not everybody gets that, and that is really unfortunate, and it can affect her whole life if that's something she wants and can't have it. So I guess I answered number 4 as well. What do you think of root search and how does this play out in international adoption? I think it's something that can be really difficult to get, but I think it's important to try for it just so the child has that and then they can make their own decisions. I don't think it's something we should push on her, but I think we should push to have that information if she wants to do something with it.
Right.
So how does trauma impact in adoptions? Every kid that is separated from their birth family for any reason has some sort of trauma about it. They'll deal with it differently, and their situations and environment will change that. But they're going to have it. So I think it's really important for parents to get as much research done and talk to adoptees and everything as much as possible, and just so they're confident and they understand the effects and how it can affect their child and how it won't affect their child. So it's always there. And we just have to be prepared for it. We can't act like it doesn't exist. We have to be genuine to the situation and the child, so they understand that they can always talk to us, and that we're always there for them, because otherwise they just won't tell us.
That's right.
And that's not okay for her. So.
Don't you think trauma plays outside of the adoption spaces? Of course it does. I mean,
people's experiences shape them.
It's a universal phenomenon. It absolutely does.
Yeah, I think anybody can.
I'm
trauma.
severely traumatized by marriage.
Yeah, see how affected he is. And lastly,
in the adoption system, what do you think is necessary in establishing a healthy relationship between child? Just love, lots and lots of love.
Yeah, I think love
and structure, patience, and boundaries and discipline.
If you have biological children, then striving to make sure that they understand they're all on the same level in a sense, and you treat them all the same, so they don't feel that they're different, and but celebrate certain differences. Like